Hello and welcome back to my YouTube. So today we're going to be doing things a little bit different. We're going to be doing a Q&A today. So essentially I asked everybody on my Instagram for some questions and I'm just going to go through them and answer them all now for you. Now I'm going to keep it relevant. I know I said any question goes, but I also said within reason. So any types of questions about OnlyFans and things like that, I'm not really going to be covering. Essentially, no, it's not something I'm ever going to do. No shade to the people that do decide to do that, but it's just not for me, quite frankly. So I've got the questions here, so I'm just going to be going through them. First question, why did I become a personal trainer? Essentially, I decided to become a personal trainer because I wanted to help other women like myself. Like when I started out on my journey, I had no idea what I was doing, absolutely no idea. I tried all of the diets under the sun. I've done running, I've been on and off at the gym, and I was in a position where I was like, nothing works for me, especially when I got diagnosed with my endometriosis. I very much ended up in a position where I was like, no matter what I do, I'm not getting the results that I want. But the reality is I just didn't know what I should be doing, right? And I thought I was doing all of these things I should be doing, watching things on the internet and getting random training programs and being consistent for a short amount of time, trying different challenges. And, I was very successful with the challenges that I ended up doing. But that was because I was like, when I go in on something, like I go all in, I will follow something to a T. But then the problem after those challenges is like, well, what happens after that? You don't know what to do, right? All I knew was dieting. So I would diet, then end up exactly in the same spot again. I didn't understand that actually to be able to get the body that you want, you need to actually train and you need to actually know how to train. I was doing random workouts thinking that was going to do it and it didn't. I was in a position where I was like, right, I had this number in my head and I was like, as soon as I get to that number, that's when I'm going to be happy. And I got down to that number and I was like, oh, this isn't what I thought. Wasn't what I was expecting. And I was like, oh, actually, you need to build muscle. So, I felt like I very much went through a process that was very long, trying lots of different things. I definitely didn't reach out for help soon enough because I was like, well, if I just follow these things, then surely it's going to work, right? And no, it didn't. And there's so much information out there, it's hard to know what to actually do. And it was only when I got my first coach that I was like, oh, okay, like this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and having that accountability, that support, that education behind things, I just thought it was just really cool. And I was like, well, this is actually what's going to get me results now. And I just wanted to help other women do the same. And it was when we reached lockdown and I realised that actually, do you know what? Like, I think I want to do this. And obviously it was like a big step, I was in a successful career, and obviously moving over to personal training, you're moving over to something where you're literally making no income. So like everybody thought I was blooming mad, like, why are you doing that? But I just knew it was something that I wanted to do. So I just went for it. Next question. What got you into training and how long have you been training for? So I sort of touched on that a little bit, like I was just not happy with the position that I was in. I was very low in confidence and I just didn't feel good in myself, so that's what sort of got me into training. And I've been training sort of, I'd say, on and off for like years. When I first started getting into training, I was very much a person that would act when she felt motivated, so I was very inconsistent and I was like swapping between things, like should I be doing more cardio, should I be doing more classes, should I be doing more like circuit style training, running, I did actually get into running. I quite enjoyed running for a period of time. I've done 2 half marathons. I did actually sign up to the London Marathon, but I did get injured. I think I got up to 15 miles and then, I got injured. So I couldn't actually follow through with that. The whole marathon never happened, but I completed 2 half marathons. And then after that, again, was when I started getting into the gym a little bit, but again, wasn't really consistent at all with things. So I would say like properly training, I can't even put years on it now, but yeah, fair few years. Anybody that knows me knows my memory is not great. Like, you ask me like how many years or like what year was I in, and I'm like, I literally have no idea, at all. Like, how old am I? Okay, next question. How do you manage your endo symptoms around work, training, finding it hard? Yeah, It is hard, I'm going to be honest, but there's lots of things that you can do in order to be able to help the situation and to help reduce the amount of obviously like the flare-ups that you have. And you know, one of the big things is understanding your body, right? But you always want to strip things right back to basics and look at, okay, like what are you already doing, right? Number one thing that you want to be looking at is your nutrition, right? Because what you put into your body really freaking matters. Like if you are eating a lot of processed food, you are going to struggle, right? Like we want to be making sure we're getting lots of whole foods in there, we're getting lots of fruit, lots of veggies, because we need to be making sure we are getting plenty of nutrients from our diet. Like that is so important. We want to be making sure we're getting good quality fats in our diet as well, because they are going to be anti-inflammatory. With endo, it is an inflammatory condition, so we want to be doing the things that we can do in order to be able to help reduce that. And you know, there is a link between endo and, you know, gut issues as well, things like SIBO. So it's like you do really want to be focusing on what you're putting into your body as like an absolute priority. So yes, there's lots of different things that you can do, but if you're eating a load of shit, then you know, there's no point focusing on these other things. Like you want to look at that first, you know, look at your actual lifestyle. And then when it comes to training as well, it's again, if you are in a position where you are having a flare up or you're in a lot of pain and you know your fatigue's really high and all that type of stuff, it's allowing yourself to actually rest, right? Because I used to be that person that would just try and push through it, and honestly it just prolongs everything, right? So it's like, okay, looking at it from, do you need rest, or is it a case of actually we just need to reduce the amount of work that you're doing in your training? So not pushing to absolute failure, reduce the amount of working sets that you are doing. You know, it takes time to actually understand your body and know what the right thing to do is. And again, that's why getting support is really, really beneficial. Like honestly, it is a game changer, because depending on what type of person you are, you either will push too hard or you'll sort of use it as an excuse, right? And either one of those things ain't exactly great. Like you, so having somebody in your corner to be like, nope, you need to rest now, or actually like, can we do X, Y, and Z? Like it's so beneficial. But other things in regards to like what you can do as well is that movement's amazing. If you use a sauna, that will help to detoxify the liver in case we've got any excess hormones, which more than likely we will do, as with endometriosis it is estrogen dominant. So little things like that can help. Obviously supplementation can really help as well, but like always think about like the best bang for your buck is always gonna be nutrition, sleep. Yeah, sleep's massively underrated. You know, if you're not getting good quality sleep, you're going to be holding on to inflammation anyway. So we want to be focusing on sleep, so making sure you're going to bed at the same time, getting up at the same time, doing things that are going to help to calm your nervous system down as well is going to be, you know, really, really important. And it's finding that routine. You know, if you can build that structure and making sure that you're fueling your body, those are going to be the things that are going to help massively. You know, they really are. Your mindset around things becomes really important as well, because like I've said before, you know, I was that person that was like, I'm never going to be able to achieve anything, I'm never going to be able to get to the place where I want to get to. But it's actually looking at it from a point of view of being like, actually no, there is things that I can do, and actually we just have to deal with the situations that we've got at hand. And it can be very frustrating as well if you've been having to go to the doctors back and forth, you're having hospital appointments and you're just not getting anywhere. You know, I completely understand how frustrating that is. And I was in that position where I was like, well, nobody's helping me. All they're trying to do is, you know, help to remove the symptoms. But even these things aren't helping to remove the symptoms. But look at what you're doing, you do your own research, get someone who knows what they're talking about to help you with the journey, and things like that can be really beneficial. And as well, it's like knowing the triggers for yourself, because obviously the different people will have different triggers in regards to what can bring on a flare up. Like for myself, as an example, stress is one of those things. Like if I get extremely stressed and I'm stressed for a long period of time, like I can get flare ups from that. Again, it might be different types of food. You know, some people will be better off, you know, pulling out gluten, pulling out dairy. Some people are fine with that. Sometimes it might just be a case that you pull that out around about the time where you might be coming, you know, to your period, or it might be when you feel flare up coming on. Like I did have go through a period of time where I did pull out gluten and dairy. I did it for about 4 weeks and slowly reintroduced it, which massively helped. So I do still have it in my diet. I haven't like fully got rid of it now. But if I'm having a flare up, I do pull back on that. But you just want to be giving your body everything that it needs in order to be able to help with these things. And again, like I said, there is supplementation as well that can really, really help, and does really, really help, talking from my own experience. But again, there's no point throwing loads of supplementation in there if you're eating a load of shit, essentially. Okay, next question. Does endo affect your BMR like PCOS? Also, why does my body weight go up before my period? Okay, so let's answer the first question first. So BMR, for anyone that doesn't know, is your basal metabolic rate. This is essentially how many calories you burn at rest. So if you were to do absolutely nothing and you lay in bed all day, that's how many calories your body's burning. With PCOS, some women who have this, their BMR is going to be slightly reduced. Now, it's not a huge amount, and it's not necessarily every single person. Like, it's not every single person, right? And again, mindset is the biggest thing for this. Can you still drop body fat when you have PCOS? Yes, you can. You know, I've had lots of clients with PCOS who have lost body fat absolutely fine. And yes, obviously, if your BMR is slightly reduced, it means things are going to be a little bit harder. It might mean you need to do a little bit more movement. It might mean your calories have to be a little bit lower compared to somebody else who's the same body weight height as you, for example, right? But that doesn't mean you can't drive progress. You absolutely can do. And again, it's the mindset, right? It's the actions that you take when you have that mindset. Because if you put yourself in a position and you go, I'm not going to drive progress because my BMR's reduced, you're then going to just not do the things that you need to do, because it's very much, you know, it's very easy to fall into that victim mentality. Now, when it comes to endo, there hasn't been any research that I've seen anyway that shows that this is a thing. But what we always look at is like, how does it indirectly affect things, right? Because actually, if you're in a position where you're not actually moving a lot, you're not doing a lot, like, of course, you're not going to be driving as much progress, right? But it's more of a case of how the symptoms and how you're feeling affects what you do. It's not a case that your body's broken. It's not a case that you can't drop body fat. But actually, you know, if you're not doing a lot, if you're not moving a lot, you know, if you're, you know, you're bed bound and things like that, like, you're not moving your body, so you're not actually going to be burning as many calories. So that obviously is the thing that affects it, and that is usually the case with the majority of things, right? You know, you look at, you know, the menopause and stuff like that. You look at, you know, oh, as you grow older, like, your metabolism slows down, and it's like, you slow down. You're the person that slows down, right? Because you're not doing the same things as what you were doing 20 years ago, with things that you were doing when, you know, you weren't working and you had more time on your hands. You would have been a lot more active. You would have done a lot more things. So it's like, you know, you're the person that slowed down. It's not the case that, like, your body's broken and you can't drive progress. At the end of the day, it's like, if you are being consistent with things, you will drive progress. Yes, some people are going to have to work a little bit harder, but that's with anyone anyway, yeah? Like, some situations are going to be easier for people, you know, depending on what job they do, you know, what their daily structure's like, what their working hours are like, what their sleep's like. It's going to be, you know, quote unquote, easier for some people, but that's just going to be down to the lifestyle that they live, and also the things that they're actually willing to do. So it doesn't affect your BMR. And again, just touching on the PCOS, like, yes, it can affect some women, but it's not everybody. And honestly, like, if you're doing the work, you're going to see the progress. And again, if you've got a coach or someone, like, they'll be the person to say when to make those changes, you know, and actually dive into, are you actually being consistent, right? Because if you're not being consistent, if you're not following your nutrition, if you're not getting your movement in, it's not a case that you can't drive progress. It's a case of you're not actually doing the work. Then in regards to the second question, nearly forgot that. So scale weight going up before your period is completely normal. Now, it won't necessarily happen to everyone, okay? Like, everybody is completely different, but this is just down to the fluctuation in hormones. We end up holding a little bit more inflammation. Stress can be a little bit high around about that time. People are a little bit more on edge. Again, that can hold inflammation. And then also sleep quality can be a little bit less around about that time as well. But it's not anything you need to stress about, because actually the scales aren't a direct correlation with fat loss. The scales can come up when you're losing body fat, and scales can also come down when you're not losing body fat, right? So let's use this as an example. If you've ever been on a night out and you've had one too many drinks, you woke up the next morning, you stood on the scales, and oh, it's a big drop. You're dehydrated. You haven't lost weight just because you went out and had a couple of drinks, right? So, you know, it works both ways. So like when it comes to around about the time of the month, like one thing that's always really, really useful to do, and especially like if you are weighing yourself every single day, is look for those trends, right? Because actually, if you're logging your cycle and you're logging your weight every single day, you can look back and be like, okay, so around about this week, I usually see a fluctuation of a kilo, 2 kilos, whatever it might be. But then you understand things a lot more, and it's a lot easier to keep going, rather than if you're not tracking your cycle, so you don't know what's going on with your body, whether you're not actually logging your weight that consistently, so you haven't been able to see those trends. You know, it's a lot easier to look at data if you have the data, and then you learn about it and you understand it more, and then it doesn't bother you anymore, right? My scales can go up like blooming 3 kilos, like it's crazy. So it's like understanding that's fine. Chrissy years ago would have been like, what's going on? Like, I'm sticking to everything, I'm not seeing any changes. But it's like, if you're holding on to inflammation, like, you can still be dropping body fat. So it's just understanding that at the end of the day, like, fluctuations on the scales are normal, and it's nothing that you need to worry about at all. Okay, next question. What do you struggle with when dieting? You know, I can't really think of like a specific thing, because yeah, it's hard, but you just do the thing, right? Because you want the outcome at the end of the day. It's like, there's no point being in a position where you're like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do this. Like, if the goal is strong enough and you want something, you will do what's required. Like, you will do what's needed. And yeah, it's hard. So what? Like, what in life actually does come easy? So, you know, I wouldn't really say there's like a specific thing that I find hard. I actually quite enjoy fat loss phases to an extent, because, you know, you've got that sort of drive and you're like, yes, I'm going to be doing this. Like, your mindset around things is like always so important. Of course, being hungry is hard, being tired is hard, having lower energy is hard, but the outcome's always worth it. Okay, next question. I feel like a failure with fat loss. 1,200 calories, always hungry, no results. Are some people just not able to lose weight? Feels hopeless. So, everybody is able to lose weight, right? If you were put in a room and we didn't feed you for a week, you would drop weight, okay? So, what you want to look at here is, first of all, you're probably not sticking to 1,200 calories, right? And I know that sounds like I'm calling you out, but if you were sticking to 1,200 calories consistently, you would be dropping body fat, right? But the things that you want to look at here is, are you tracking your food? Are you tracking your food accurately? Are you accounting for everything, right? And I mean everything, because pretty much majority of things are going to have calories in them, yeah? You know, you want to be looking at, are you logging your sauces, your oils? Are you accounting for meals out? You know, because if you're sticking to 1,200 calories, but yet you're having like 2-3 meals out and you're not even accounting for that, and you're not thinking about the extra oils and sauces and things that are going to be in those foods, again, that's going to bring up your calories. So again, that's not going to be 1,200 calories. Are you in a position where you're actually trying to stick to calories that are just too low for you? Then you end up picking. And again, mindless snacking is a thing, right? You don't even realise that you're doing it. I remember seeing there was like some research thing, and there was an office and they put out like lots of different food, and they just left it there, right? And they filmed everybody in the office going up, taking little bits, and then they asked everybody at the end of the day, like, oh, did you have any of that food? The amount of people that turned around and said no. And then they got shown the footage and they're like, oh, I don't remember doing that, right? Like, mindless snacking is a thing. You probably don't even realise that you're doing it. It might be a case that you're making food and then you're just grazing in the cupboard, or, you know, you're having a bite of your kids' food, or, you know, little things like this, just a couple of nuts. Like, it's not that much. And, you know, understanding nutrition as well, like the calories in foods, again, so important, because you might not be eating a lot of food, but the calories can still be quite high. You know, people look at healthy food and think, well, it's fine, I'm eating healthy. So it's like looking at those little things, and again, like, oh, but it's just a biscuit. Well, that biscuit's going to be at least 100 calories realistically, depending on what it is. So, you know, it's having that understanding of like how many calories is actually in food, and actually looking at, are you being consistent? Are you weighing everything out? Or are you just, you know, guessing, right? Because if you're winging it, you're winging the outcome. Majority of people are going to drop into 1,200 calories. You know, you could pretty much say that everybody will. So it's just a thing of being consistent and actually looking at, do you actually need 1200 calories? Because if the calories are too low that you can't stick to it, you're not sticking to 1200 calories. At the end of the day, in the roundabout way, you're not sticking to 1200 calories. And you might think you are. So I'm not sitting here saying like, oh, you're lying. You might think that you are, but it's not going to be the case, because everybody, absolutely everybody, can drop body fat. Nobody is like susceptible to it. Yeah, like it doesn't make sense really if you think about it, because that would just mean like if you never ate, you'd always just stay the same. That's not how it works. Okay, can you tell us more about when you competed? What was it like? How did you find prep? So probably one of the hardest things you'll ever do, to be honest, but also probably one of the most rewarding things. Like, you learn so much about yourself, right? And you have to be in a position where you do the things no matter how you feel. You know, like there was days when before I was doing my cardio, I'd be in the toilet literally just crying, like, I've got nothing in me, I can't do this, but you just do it. Yeah, like no matter how you're feeling, you go and do what's needed. You know, like prep for myself was quite extreme. I was doing a lot of movement, a lot of steps, a lot of cardio. My food was very low, but you just do it. I mean, I was like an absolute zombie. Like when I actually had food after prep, I was like, is this what normal feels like? But yeah, it's one of the hardest things, but one of like the most rewarding things. And of course, like it's not for everyone. It is an extreme, you know, it really, really is. But yeah, I loved it. And you know, never say never again. I always go through phases like, no, I'll never do that again. And I'm like, oh, maybe. You sort of get an itch for it. But no, it was amazing. And it's one of those things that like, it just shows you what you're capable of doing. Because if you can be in a position where you just do it no matter how you're feeling, and you show up and you do it when you're tired, you do it when you're, you know, feeling frustrated, you do it when you're sad, and you just get up and you just do the work. Like it is like so rewarding. And then obviously show day, you know, show day is amazing as well. Long days if you're doing bikini, long days if you're doing bikini. But yeah, the whole experience, you know, is just amazing. Like obviously it's hard, and it does mean that like, you know, there's things that you can't do, right? But again, that's with anything. No matter what goal you're setting, there's going to be things that you can't do. There's going to be, you know, quote unquote sacrifices that you have to make. But that's why the goal has to be big enough for you, right? Like, you know, I'll never ever say to anyone like, oh yeah, just go and compete. Like you have to want to do it. You have to know what your why is, because otherwise you're just not going to be able to do it. Yeah, you're going to really, really struggle. Like you have to be in the mindset of, me saying no to these things is me actually saying yes to my goal. Like I did not care what anybody was eating around me, right? But you know, like everyone drinking around me, like I didn't care. I did not care. And like people would always say to me, oh, I'm sorry. And I'm like, stop saying sorry. Like I don't care. Like I generally do not care. Like you telling me you're sorry is actually frustrating me. Like I do not care. Like have what you want. Like you can do what you want to do. It's completely irrelevant to me, right? Because my goal is not your goal. I'm not going to put my goal on you to stop you from doing something that you want to do. Like I'm fine. I'm sound. Like I'm doing this for me at the end of the day. What would you say, steps or cardio, is more important for fat loss? Definitely your steps, right? Because what you want to look at is like the bigger picture. What are you doing from day to day? How can you get your movement up? That is going to be a bigger contributor to you just going and doing half an hour of the Stairmaster, right? Because actually people massively overestimate like what a little bit of cardio does compared to your actual daily movement. Like your daily movement is going to be the biggest contributor, right? Because you can go and do an hour of cardio, but if you're only getting like 2,000 steps in, you're not going to be seeing the progress that you want. Like cardio is a tool, like unless you blooming love cardio and you want to be doing cardio, like that's fine, but it's not a case of, oh, cardio is superior to fat loss. It's not. Like if you can get your daily movement up and you're moving more, like you are going to be burning more calories. Your daily movement is always going to be the biggest contributor. So if you can get your steps up, that's the thing that you want to be doing. That's the thing that you're going to be aiming towards. Adding in cardio is a tool, right? It's a tool that you add on later. The biggest thing that you always want to focus on initially is actually just moving more. Literally just move more. Like so many people get caught up thinking, oh, I need to do more cardio, I need to do more cardio. And it's like, well, are you getting your steps in? No. well, do that first. Do that first, and then we can talk about cardio later, you know. And again, sometimes, you know, it's different, like, because if you don't have a lot of time, sometimes adding in some cardio can be really beneficial to help get that a little bit extra movement in there. Like, it is going to be relevant to the person as well, but if you can actually just go and get more movement in, that is going to be, you know, superior, and then add cardio in when and as it's needed. Now, this is the last question, but again, like, I haven't really got an answer for this question, because if you could pick one food that you had to eat for the rest of your life, what would it be? I can't even tell you. Like, obviously right now I'm on my oats hype, but I'm like, is that the only meal that I'd want to eat for the rest of my life? I don't know, really. I don't know. So I can't actually answer that question, because if you know anything about me, I don't have favourite things. I don't. My mind will change about stuff all the time. I have things that are like, you know, a permanent, like, you know, my oats and my energy drinks and my coffee. But yeah, I don't really have favourite things. So I find stuff like that very hard. It would literally just have to be in the moment. But right now I can't actually think of anything. So yeah, I think that's all of the questions I'm going to be answering anyway. But hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it helpful. Obviously, you know what to do on YouTube by now. Hit the like, subscribe, all of that jazz, and I will catch you on the next one.